Today we're going to be doing an in-depth run through of what's probably our most used bit of camping gear.
Yep, and that is our Dune 4-wheel-drive Nomad Deluxe rooftop tent, which we've actually owned for, I think, longer than the D-Max itself. And it's been our home away from home for many nights as we have been exploring throughout WA.
Hey guys, and welcome to a video we've both been really looking forward to making, because honestly we get so many questions about this rooftop tent, both in the comment section on YouTube and Instagram, but also at 4-wheel drive shows too, where we've usually got this tent set up and on display. So hopefully we're able to answer any questions you guys have about this Dune 4-wheel drive Nomad Deluxe rooftop tent, because honestly I feel like we know it pretty well after all the nights we've spent in it over the years.
Yeah, for sure. So we've owned this tent since early 2022, which it was briefly installed back on the old Ford Ranger, which was well back when this channel was called Exploranger. So bit of a flashback for any long-time viewers. But since then we would have spent, I don't know, at least 100 nights in this where we're sleeping in it together. And then Daniel's probably doubled that with all his solo trips and, you know, when he's out with mates and stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. So we thought we'd break this video down into a few different sections in case you're looking for some particular info. So we'll cover the dimensions, the mounting, the setup procedure, the pack down procedure, the things we like, and also the things we dislike about this tent. So there'll be a little bit of everything. We'll also chuck some timestamps down below as well if you want to jump ahead to a particular section. But for now, let's kick things off with the dimensions. As far as rooftop tents go, this is probably one of the larger ones in terms of footprint on your roof. So it measures in at 2.1 meters long and 1.55 meters wide, which is perfect for most canopy setups like mine. But if you've got like a wagon 4-wheel drive, for example, just check the width of your roof to make sure that it won't overhang. Height-wise, they advertise this tent as being 28 centimeters tall, but just doing our own measurements, it actually comes in at a fraction under 24 centimeters from the surface or the roof racks you're mounting it to the absolute top of the closed tent, and I reckon that's pretty decent. There's definitely slimmer rooftop tents available if you need something really streamlined, but because of the way this one folds up, we do get a bit of extra space with this strip in the middle, which gives us just enough room to pack this away with some bedding still inside, which we'll show you when we set it up. And weight-wise, it comes in at 75 kilos without the ladder, which isn't too bad for a hard shell rooftop tent, but make sure you check your roof's load capacity to see if that's suitable for your vehicle. But for us with the canopy setup, that's no concern. Now, I get a lot of questions about the mounting for this tent because I have customized it a little bit to get it this streamline on the roof of the canopy. It's only about 3 centimeters from the top of that canopy there, and it needed to be that way to fit in my garage at home. But how these tents normally mount is there's 2 rails underneath with built-in bolt channels, and to attach it to your existing roof racks, for example, you just slide the included bolts into either side of your roof rack, add the belly straps and bolt it in place, and you'd be done. What we've done for this one is drill holes through those mounting rails on the tent. I then slide bolts through these mounting rails on my canopy and essentially lower the tent over those bolts. Now, it was a bit of a mission to get the nuts done up on top because essentially I had to remove the whole base of the tent by undoing all these straps and clips around the outside to lift that up and then get in to tighten those nuts. But the end result is something that's really streamlined and also very secure.
So I'm going to show you how to set this tent up. It is really quick and easy. The first step is we need to undo all the latches from the outside. There is 2 on each side, so 8 in total. Most important thing to do or know is that when you unclip them, make sure you remember to actually unhook them as well. Oh. Help for the height challenge. forgot to do the other first one. All right, that's all 8 clips undone. Next thing to do is literally just push it up, making sure you're only pushing up the top half, otherwise you're gonna try and lift the tent off the roof. From here, the gas struts seem to take it away. Our gas struts are a little bit worn out after years of work, so they're a little bit slower, but the good news is you can literally just unbolt them and bolt new ones back in. Then we just come around this side and we push this up. Again, big challenge for height. So I stand up here and lift her up. This is where the gas struts could do a little more. She's all set up almost. Just come back around the other side and we do the last bit. All right, so now we just need to get our ladder out. Close that door. And then we just need to unpack our ladder and chuck it on. Beautiful. Also like to make sure that the ladder is on somewhat even ground, just because if it's not, when you put weight on it, it can kind of twist it and you don't really want to bend your ladder. From here, we climb on up, and all I need to do is flip the shoe bags out of the way, open up these front vents, in the center, you'll find a little elastic cable with a hook on an eyelet. You just undo that and you can move it out of the way. And then from here, I can either zip it up, ready to come back to later on, or sometimes I'll jump in and set the bed up. At the moment, I'm just gonna zip it up. With this zip, a little bit of a side note, it can be a little bit tight to do up along the bottom, so just make sure that your zip's not getting caught in the fabric and that it's not getting caught on the little hooks of this ladder. All right, just like that. Happy camping.
So next up, we're going to run through the pack down procedure that we use to get this tent to pack away with all our bedding and our pillows still inside, which honestly saves us so much time. So the first thing we do, essentially when we wake up in the mornings and we know we're going to be packing away that day, we'll make the bed as neatly as we can, and we'll also try and fold or keep the material away from the very edges of the tent. So once that material's out of the way, we do then take our pillows as well and lay them as a bit of a column in the very center of the tent lengthways. There's a bit of a log in the middle there. Then we're ready to grab our elastic cord that we took off during the setup. And this elastic cord essentially just helps pull that material in as you're collapsing it down, so there's a little bit less hanging out that you have to kind of stuff in with your fingers. Now, we normally leave the other 2 ends of this elastic cord attached to the other side of the tent wall just because we're lazy and there's one less thing to do when we're packing up in the morning. But you can take this elastic cord completely off and tuck it in one of the pockets if you'd like and need a tent setup. Just make sure you do put it back on. So I'm going to grab the middle end of that elastic cord and just chuck it on the same eyelet we took it off from at the start. Next up, we're going to fold our 2 windows in as well, which is just a case of undoing that Velcro and pushing the front of the window in like so, and doing that on both sides. Now with the door, we do leave this fully unzipped because it does allow the air to escape as we're collapsing the tent down, but we do just attach these Velcro corners to try and keep the door mostly in place, but obviously still give it plenty of room for that air to escape. And that's all we need to do from the front section of the tent. So I'm now going to jump down this ladder and head over to the other side. So coming around to the left-hand side of the tent, all we have to do is grab this strap down here, which is just kind of dangling in place. Give that a pull to bring this side of the tent down. Now, normally when I get to about this point, because I'm tall, I kind of just like grab this frame there, which gives me time to grab this strap and the extra material and give that a push in. It will kind of sit there on the hydraulic struts. I'll then come to the front here, make sure all that material is pushed in, head to the back. This one's actually mostly fine, but I'll just double check. Make sure that's all pulled in there nicely, and then allow it to close that last little bit. And again, because I'm tall, I'm also able to just push this extra material in as I drop that final bit down.
I'm just going to jump in here. Daniel said he's tall. If you're not tall like me, I just wanted to say that I have 2 ways of packing this tent down. I do it no problems. The first is I actually just jump up straight on here, grab onto the awning. Sorry, Daniel, that your mounts are getting bent. And then I can just tuck the material in and I can pull the tent down and adjust as needed. The other way though is to actually grab the material from the inside of the tent, which requires going around the other side. So all I'm doing is I'm coming around and climbing up the ladder, obviously, and then I'm just ducking my head inside the tent to pull in that fabric from the inside rather than pushing it in from the outside.
So to pack this second side down, we're going to climb back up this ladder and grab the top just here to pull down. But if it's pouring down with rain, you might want to leave your door zipped up. Just pull it down a little bit slower because that air is not going to be able to escape as easily. So I'm going to grab this with one of my hands, pull it down about 2/3 of the way. Again, just like the other side, I'm going to stop, push any material that's kind of overhanging in from the edges and get it down to about this point here, where now I'm just going to fold our 2 shoe bags in and jump back down the ladder, because right now our ladder is over the top of the frame there. So you can kind of pull it down to about that point and jump down the ladder. Now from the ground, going to lift this ladder out of the tent there and collapse it down. Chuck this in the back of the canopy. And now we're ready to do up these clips. Now this is one thing we do slightly differently to allow us to pack all that bedding inside. Essentially, I'm going to gently pull this side down. I'm going to clip these 2 latches on the first side, but not clamp them down fully. I'm just going to leave them so they're just kind of hooked over the top there. Do that on both sides like so, and now go around to the other side. So the reason I do those other clips up just halfway is it makes getting these clips on a lot easier, especially with all that bedding inside. So right now I'm able to easily close this side down and get those clips to lock into place just like that. Whereas if I'd done those other side clips up, it would essentially kind of, because it pinches that right side, it causes this left side to lift up. But just like this, super easy to get those both in place. Lock them up like so, and we are good to go. You might also notice that these clips are upside down. I did just spin them around by sliding those bolts out of the tracking and then back in the opposite way to make room for my awning down here as well. But now those 2 clips are done up, I can now go around and do up all the rest of the clips.
So we're going to start with what we like about this tent. Now we've come up with a little bit of a list of things that we've both agreed on that we like. So
yeah, it's just stuff that's kind of come up in our experience using this tent over the past couple of years. And the first big one is the amount of internal space we get with this particular tent. So we've had a couple of tents on the car over the years, and this one by far has the most room, both in terms of width, which is probably the biggest thing for us. This is a 140 model tent, so it's 1.4 meters wide inside. And for a couple of people, it makes it so comfortable to sleep. You're not in each other's way. It's just nice, really.
And we used to own the 1.2, I think. And that was okay, but we actually noticed. You wouldn't think 20 centimeters would make much of a difference, but it was,
world of difference.
Yeah, it was really noticeable for this. But that was also because of the walls.
Yeah, exactly. So this one does tend to go pretty straight up like that. So you're not in that situation where one person has like the side of the tent going across your face. You both have a pretty equal amount of space, which is great. And the height is also pretty generous too. Not the highest tent we've ever tested, but definitely plenty of height to sit up, get changed, and just be just comfortable in the tent.
Number 2 is the simplicity for setting this tent up and I guess also packing it down.
Yep.
For me, that's a massive one because some of the tents we've had in the past, they're usually pretty easy, but there's always like a little gripe that I'll have with it. It'll be finicky in one area or whatever it is. But this one, I really can't complain because we've done it so many times, both of us, and it's just so quick and simple.
And especially like after a long drive to camp, the last thing you want to do is like muck around with a complicated setup procedure. But with this, as you guys just saw, 8 clips around the outside, push it up and you're done. Number 3 is weather resistance, because we have never in 2.5 years had a single issue with this tent during rain, wind, hail, shine, anything really. It's just been a nice comfortable place to sleep, like regardless of weather, and that's a pretty big deal for rooftop tents.
Yeah, and especially when we've used it so much and so often compared to maybe your regular camper. So definitely, I'm the first one to complain when it comes to wet bedding or wet feet or anything that's
flapping
annoying.
material.
And this tent, I've never ever felt annoyed at this tent in any form of weather.
Yeah, exactly. And a bit of a question I get asked about rooftop tents is seasoning. And for this one, never had to do any seasoning. Set it up from day one and it's been good to go.
Number 4 is comfort.
Yes.
Now, this is a really important one, especially for people like us who are touring in this car a lot. And so we spend probably a more than average amount of nights in the tent than the regular user.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
Yeah, but look, I cannot complain. This is the only tent that I have ever found that the stock mattress is comfortable for me and for Daniel.
Yeah, exactly right. So I honestly, I've said this before, and I'm not exaggerating at all to say that I sleep better and more comfortably in this tent than I do on our bed at home, which is a pretty pricey mattress we've got at home.
It's a very good one.
This one, for my sleeping style at least, just works perfectly. I do prefer a firmer mattress personally, which this one I think is, but they just seem to have got that nice middle ground between being not too firm and not too soft.
Yep,
Yeah,
I'm
for
a
us
side
anyway.
sleeper, and I don't get any back or hip pain or anything with this mattress, which I have done in past tents. So, yeah.
Absolute winner there. Number 5 is pretty simple, and it's just the internal light on this tent, but we just find it's the little things that make all the difference with tents like these. So this has got a nice built-in light that we run off a standard charge bank that we literally leave in the tent at all times.
Plugs in with USB.
Yeah, and like it lasts us for like 6 months before we need to bring that charge bank down and recharge it, and it's just nice having that little bit of light in the tent when you're moving around at night time.
Yeah, about to go to bed.
Yeah. Number 6 is that this tent has windows all the way around the outside, which is quite unusual for hard shell rooftop tents. Normally they kind of hinge up in one direction, so that hard shell roof blocks one of your windows, but for this we get nice 360-degree panoramic views around the whole outside. And for us, we like a bit of a sleep in the morning and be able to like open those windows any way we're facing and get a nice view all the way around.
Also handy for when there's a breeze and it's a little bit hot in summer, you can open the windows depending on which side the breeze is coming from, and yeah, that's really comfortable as well.
Yep.
Number 7 is that it comes with roof racks, which you can obviously take off if you don't need them, or you can just chuck them on for the times you do. And honestly, when this is sitting on top of a canopy and we have no other way, especially now we don't have a lift-off canopy,
yeah,
that is really handy. The amount of times we've used it.
It's something like we literally use this more than we expected when we're chucking the kayak up there to go down to the river. I bring wood home from Bunnings on it.
Coming home from Bunnings with wood, or the blinds that I picked up for the house, whatever it is. They're just super easy to chuck on, bolt up, get what you need, and then take them off later.
Number 8 is the long-term durability of this tent, which is something we've only been recently able to properly determine. And honestly, we've put this tent through hell over the last 2.5 years with corrugations, bouncy off-road tracks, setting it up in a range of different weather conditions on a range of different surfaces.
Yep, and you know, sand, mud, rain, dust, dirt, no matter what, like it has seen it all.
Yeah.
And we have not treated it kindly in the way that we obviously treat it as best we can, but it's not like we're going around and babying it.
Not at all.
It gets smashed.
Absolutely, and honestly, not a single thing has broken on it in 2.5 years, and I reckon that's pretty impressive.
Number 9 is that we can pack all our bedding away inside the tent. And this isn't actually something we kind of did until sort of the last year or so.
The last couple of months, just on the Gibb River Road.
It's kind of when we really discovered how much we can pack in there with it closing, and it seals great. So yeah, we did it on the Gibb River Road. Not a single bit of dust or anything got inside, even with all the bedding packed in. And that's really handy because when you have a little bit of limited space on your bigger trips, it's really nice not to have that bedding inside the car and have to get it out every afternoon and then put it back in the morning.
It's kind of twofold, right? Like it saves you storage space in your car, so that room you would normally take up with your bedding and your pillows and whatnot, you've now got that available for packing your supplies. And secondfold, it makes the setup and pack down so much quicker.
Also, it keeps your bedding cleaner. We don't have to have the dirt and dust from the car getting on all my bedding, and for me and anyone else who's like me, that's really nice to have.
And lucky last is a bit of a story time and a bit of a mistake. Feel free to have a go at me in the comment section down below. But I recently wind tested this tent at 110 kilometers an hour, completely on accident, but it's nice to be able to share that with you right now. So we got back from the Gibb and we're unpacking all our stuff to get it nice and clean.
I don't like the word we here.
So I took all the bedding out and I kind of just sat the tent shut as I was bringing stuff inside the house. Totally mentally blanked and forgot to then go back and do the latches up. I then hit the freeway later that same day and I was driving down doing 110, just entered the freeway, and I checked my mirror to change lanes and I noticed one of the shoe bags just flapping down and I was like, oh no. I pulled over and the whole tent is set up on the car. It would have looked ridiculous. Actually,
I hope anyone, if someone saw that, please let us know, because I would have loved to have seen a fully erect tent going down the freeway at 110 km/h.
I would love to see it actually set up. Anyway, long story short, it's been faultless ever since. Not a single bit of damage from that.
Wasn't even bent or anything.
Yeah, so definitely can stand up to some pretty strong winds.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to the things we dislike about this tent, or maybe just improvements we'd like to see, I suppose you'd call it. And these are also going to be tailored to our specific use case, so they might not be applicable to you guys, but just wanted to include them nonetheless. And number one is probably the biggest for me, and that's that you have to get into this tent through the side and have your ladder down the side like we've got it back there. And for canopy setups like ours, it's just a little bit annoying not being able to get in through that right-hand canopy door without moving the ladder out of the way. For us, the perfect situation would be a rear access tent. So just something I wanted to point out as a dislike for our particular use case.
Yep, and that would also mean we could use the ladder on the back without having to take our ladder with us and store that somewhere. Plus, the ladder, when it's on the side of a canopy, can scratch up your canopy door. So that's the downside to it.
Definitely.
Number two is the ladder, as we just mentioned before, has to be stored separately. Now, for some people that might not be an issue, but for us, when we're packing so much and quite often only staying in places for one night at a time, it does get a little bit tiring having to pack the ladder down and then shove it somewhere in the tent, in the canopy, and then have to get it back out again. And obviously not very useful to store it in the tent because I need the ladder to set up the tent. So bit of a catch-22 there.
Number three comes down to how much you like a bit of a sleep in the morning, and that's that this isn't a very dark tent inside. So when the sun's up, you will know all about it and you're ready to get up and start your day pretty much.
Which probably affects Daniel more than me, although
Yeah,
I
like
generally,
to sleep in.
yeah, Daniel likes to sleep ins. I am generally an early bird anyway, but definitely if you are a sleep in person or very affected by the light, not so great. Number four is that zipper on the front door. Now, again, probably something that's a bit more wear and tear and just how we use it, etc. But the zipper itself can be a little bit dicky to get done up or undone because it's really quite tight. The fabric on the front of the tent can pull quite taut at the bottom. And if you have anything on the other side, like your bedding, for instance, or whatever else, it's really hard to get that zip done up or undone without it getting caught either on the fabric on the inside of the tent, like the canvas fabric, or on your bedding.
So you really have to kind of make sure you're using your second hand to kind of pull that material away as you're doing that zip up.
Yeah.
Number five relates to the mounting channels on the side of the tent. Now, I just find it a little bit frustrating that they're kind of angled either out on the bottom or in on the top. And it means if you want to mount, for example, an awning or a shower tent, you can't just slot bolts in and attach your awning because it's going to be on a bit of an angle. Whereas if it was straight up and down, it would just make that process a lot easier.
And finally, number six, last one, more of a nice to have than an issue or something we don't like, but I really would love to have some storage stuff on the top of the roof. So some of the tents that we've had in the past have had like storage pockets in the hardtop roof, which is just so handy when you're like, you know, getting into bed or you want to put your phone somewhere, just really easy to reach.
Yeah, more storage is better, right? So we kind of find that our stuff just ends up being left around the tent because we've only got those two small storage bags.
Yeah, so a little bit more storage and having it kind of up out of the way so you're not lying on it would be nice.
Yep. Well, those are our thoughts on the Dune 4-wheel drive Nomad Deluxe rooftop tent. Honestly, there's a reason we continue to run this tent after over 2.5 years, and that's that it just works really, really well for our particular needs.
Yeah, look, we've been lucky enough to have tried a couple of different rooftop tents over the years, and you also see what your friends and family are using and what's available on the market, but we just keep coming back to this because, as Daniel said, it works really well for us.
Absolutely. So if you guys have any questions at all about this tent, let us know in the comment section down below. We'll get back to you guys as soon as we can. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Happy camping.
Oh, I've got an ant biting me.
Oh, that was a
March fly. Market accessory, so if that was straight, ow.
I don't know where I'm going.